So, guys, I am back again. Good evening, and this time I'm starting late because I'll be filming this bag here. I'll be filming it, okay? So, let me just quickly show you how the bag is going to look like. So this is what I'll be filming. You can see it coming up. It's very, very beautiful. um After this bag, I'm going to film a similar bag again. I haven't gotten this pattern rightly. I've not gotten it in the way I really want to get it. So the next one, I want the flap to extend beyond this, okay? But the back is very, very fine, okay? And one thing I've done three things differently. The first thing I did is making a mat, like woven Ankara fabric into a mat for the flap. The second thing I did was putting an external pocket, and the fourth thing I did is using Marco as my bag stiffener, bag interface for the very first time. All right. So if you want to be part of this tutorial, please make sure you watch the part 1. The part 2 will be coming very soon on Monday. Definitely we'll be having the part 2 of this bag, which because I've started filming it already. All right, so compliments of the season. And yesterday we were talking about courses for beginners, bag making courses or bag making class for beginners. All right, and I was going to talk about, okay, let me quickly just recap some of the things that we talked about. So let me position myself. Okay, let me just quickly recap some of the things that we talked about, because before we go into today's discussion properly, because I'm going to demonstrate this bag here. I'm just looking at it, I'm just admiring it anyhow. Let me just put it here so I can be seeing it. So okay, let me remove it so that there will be space here, but make sure you watch this tutorial. Okay, so I was going to say something. Okay, let me recap what we did yesterday. Yesterday we talked about courses like beginner, like the topic was beginner courses or beginner class, something like that. And I talked about from my own personal experience. I explained some certain things that you shouldn't do as an upcoming bag maker or a beginner. All right, I talked about starting a bag. If you want to start a bag, what kind of bag should you start with? As a beginner, you shouldn't go for the complex bags. You should start from bags that are very, very easy. Bags like the tote bag, the clutch bag, and the bucket bags. These are bags that are very easy for you as a beginner to do. Don't get it complicated for yourself. Okay, we talked about some other things too, the kind of interface you should use. All right, like for instance, I made this bag today, and today is the very first time I used Manco. I've never used Manco, which is technically called the EVA foam, right? This is the very first time I use Manco, and though I've not sewn it, my fear is going to be sewing, because I basically don't want anything that is going to be difficult for my machine, because this is the machine I'm using to teach you guys. So I hopefully by the time I'll be sewing this, I wouldn't have any issue. But it's good. This is the first time I'm using Manco to interface my bags, and it actually came out very well. So these are things as you graduate. Okay, as you grow along with your talent, your skill, you become perfect. You don't rush into it, especially when you are just beginning. All right, so we talked a whole lot of things, but today I wouldn't want to waste time and start repeating myself, because I have two things to actually teach you guys. First of all, I'm going to demonstrate, because I talked about how to bust the corner of your tote bag, how to start with a bust bag and just get two patterns, then you bust the corners to get your shape, the bottom and the side. And again, I'm actually going to be making this like as a bonus. I'm going to be making these hair scrunches with this, though I know it's not kind of related to the topic, right? It's not related to the topic. What we are doing today is just bag, but this is just going to be a bonus for us. right? So if you're a beginner, you're an upcoming bag maker, this is where you ought to have been by now. All right, so we are doing something like this. It's a very fine, this head scrunch never goes out of date. Like um um people use it often, especially when going for events, wedding ceremonies, different kind of ceremony. You can actually sew it to match with your dress. All right, so let me just go with what I'm going to be doing today. So remember, we're going to be doing something like this. I'm just going to show you guys how we're going to be putting this together, but the aim of this live stream is to show you how you can bust the corner of your bag. If for instance you want to make a tote bag, you are a beginner, you want to start from making a tote bag. All right, you don't have to stress yourself out, you don't have to do too much, you don't even have to start drafting patterns. As long as you can measure appropriately, you can do your measurements appropriately. All you have to do is just to get your measurement, then you sew them together, then you bust the corner, then you make your lining, make your handle, you are good to go, right? Guys, I might not be shouting too much this night. Nigeria time is just to 11. We are almost at 11 o'clock. Before I go into details, I want to wish you guys compliments of the season. Tomorrow is Xmas. Happy Xmas. We are almost there. We are grateful for the gift of life. All right, so let's start now, but I really want more people to join us before I go into details. And I want you guys to ask me some questions. So you can see the way I'm looking straight. I'm trying to film this back since I'm not really rested. I'm trying to film this back. All right, so I'm not sure I can wait for you guys. I'm just going to start now. So I've threaded my machine. I'm just going to bring in, let me turn the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to move my chair. So I'm just going to bring my thread out. All right, this machine, the place it is, it's not very stable. It's not stable because the floor is not leveled. I'm just going to make it, put something under. Okay, I don't know if it's all right. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you are starting a bag as a beginner, the first thing you have to do is to take the measurement of the bag that you want to do. Most tote bags that have to do with just two patterns usually come with a measurement of 16 by 18. Okay, I am not very certain, but because I do a lot of tote bags, I can tell you that if you are going to take a measurement of 16 by 15, 16 by 18, is going to be okay. All right, so today is not to talk about bag, it's not to go into details, it's just to teach you guys how to bust the corner of your bags. If you're a beginner, you just want to start with just two patterns of bag. Yesterday wanted to talk about that, but the light just went off suddenly, so I could not finish what I had in mind to tell you guys. So today is busting the corners of your bag, and this measurement is not the measurement for an average tote bag. So if you want to make a tote bag, the measurement you should take, approximately average measurement is going to be like 15 by 16 inches. Okay, so if you've gotten your pattern, which are just two basic patterns, I'm talking because I'm here for beginners, you have to start, I said, start from a simple pattern, not going to complex patterns. After you've gotten your patterns, okay, and you have stabilized them, go watch my video. The very first video I did when I started YouTube, I actually used interfacing, popularly sold in tailoring shops. I've showed it to you guys yesterday. I don't know if I still have it here. So you can interface it. I don't want to go into details into sewing because my aim is to sew the corner, to bust it for you guys. Now let me just quickly show you what I mean by interfacing. So it comes in different thickness. There are some that are even as strong as this kind of one. I've gone to Musha, I've seen this kind of interface that when I saw it, I was even surprised. All right, it was as thick as this, so it comes in different interfaces. And if you really want to get this different kinds, the best place for you to go to is Mush. If you're in Lagos, you have to go to Mushi Market. You're going to see different interfaces that are very, very thick. I'm not kidding. I've seen interfaces that are so hard and thick as this. I mean, this kind of interfaces. So they comes in different um sizes and different thickness. So you're a beginner, you've gotten just your two patterns. I bet you are good to go. So after you've gotten your patterns, your machine is in a working condition. The second thing you are going to do is to think of how to interface your bag. All right, so interfacing your bag is going to, you be the one to determine how you want your bag to be hard, how you want it to be stiff. All right, so as a beginner, I want you to start from a very simple interface. Please don't go for this kind of interface. I know what I'm saying, because it's not about preparing it. What after you have prepared it and you're not able to sew it from the machine, so you have to start from sewing. So you go for interfaces that are foamy, interfaces like fleece, like foam, and use it. So I said yesterday that interfacing mostly come, I mean those ones popularly used by tailors, comes in two form. You have these ones, they have glue. I don't know if it's this place is bright enough. If you can see, it is different from this other side. They usually have glue on it. Okay, those part that have gum and the part that you sew to the wrong side of your fabric, especially when you are using ankara, they are mostly used on fabric. All right, on fabric, not on leather. All right, though you can still use them on leather. So if you are going to be using ankara, for instance, all you have to do is to iron this part that has gum on your ankara fabric. If you don't have an iron, I know you are just starting, you might not have most of those things on ground, so you don't have an iron. If you are going to use that particular interface, you can still sew, guys. When you sew, you're still going to get the same effect. All right, you can sew, or you can even use your bond, your top bond, your gum, to just stick it to your ankara. All right, so you start from simple interfaces like the foam, the fleece, those simple knots, to stiff interfacing. Because don't most time think of making bags that are professionally looking. All right, because if you want to think about that one, it's not even about the preparation. What if you want to start sewing with machine and you start having issues? What are you going to do? So start with interfacing that are very simple for your machines to handle. So that I'm talking about the fabric now, I'm talking about ankara. But if you are going to be sewing leather and you want to interface it, my advice to you is, when you are getting leather, just get leather that are a bit thick, that you don't have to interface them. Okay, leather come in different thickness. There are some leather that you don't even need to interface. You are still going to get that sturdy shape, you are going to get that rigid shape, that structural bag that you really wanted. So get leathers that are hard enough for you to sew, so that when you sew it, your bag will come out well. Don't go and get leather that are very light now. Then by the time you want to start preparing your bag, you now start thinking of the interfacing that is going to match with that particular leather. So get leather that are already hard, that you don't even need to interface. And again, that reminds me again, if you are getting leather and you are just starting, you don't know how to actually put your lining on bag yet, there are some leather you call double-sided leather, right? Like it comes in like the back of the leather looks like the front of the leather. I don't know, it has been done in a way that it has been lined already. So you can use that leather for both the external and for the interior part of your bag. You don't need to line it, you don't need to put any lining. So these are the things that you should start from, because bag making is very broad. There are a lot of things that you have to learn. So you cannot learn one thing, you cannot learn everything for 1 year, you can't go learn it for 2 years. It's a continuous process. You understand? You keep on getting our skills. So you want to get this thing, don't start thinking I want to get this thing and no, start from somewhere. So get leather that are thick and they are double-sided, like that has the way it looks like it, as though the external looks like the internal. Okay, the interior looks like the external. You don't have to line. So get such a leather when you want to start. And we've talked talked about different kind of interfacing you should use. So once you've gotten your bag, whatever you want to use, your fabric interfaced, the next thing you are going to be doing is sewing this bag together. So before you sew, in order to avoid the issues that your sewing machine is going to give to you, you have to try out the leather or the fabric you want to use. You try it out to see if you are not going to have any challenge with your machine, if it's going to sew, if your machine is going to sew through such a leather without you having an issue. So you try it out first. Make sure you put most of those things to trial before you start sewing, so that most time if you don't put them into trial, start sewing, you start getting discouraged because of some of the challenges you are going to face. So let me just quickly recap what I've just said before we bust the corner of this two leathers and turn it into a tote bag. Now I said, one, get a leather that is thick if you are going to be using a leather. If you are going to be using a fabric, get a fabric, but do not get too hard interfacing or stiffener to stiff your bag. Get the foaming type of interfacing, because even as you are trying to sew it, you are also considering your machine, because in this case we don't want anything to be difficult for you. We don't want anything to be that will lead to your discouragement. I don't know if I'm making sense. So get what your machine will be able to sew through. So yeah, if you are using a fabric ankara, get a soft interface. And if you are using a leather, get a leather that is thick, that you don't have to interface. Okay, there's this other leather you call the double-sided face, like the external looks like the interior. All right, so once you've done this, the second thing I want to tell you is to try out the fabric, whatever fabric you are using. If it's a leather, if it's an ankara fabric, I mean the Africa print fabric, try it out with the machine you're going to be sewing. You know, all machines are not the same. All machines cannot handle all the kind of fabric you want to sew. You cannot go and buy a stretching fabric and you want to make a bag with it and you are sewing with your machine. It will not sew well. So you try out the fabric you want to sew, cut in pieces, a sample, sew it first and see if your machine will be able to sew it, if your machine is going to sew through it first, so that but you wouldn't start preparing for something that you will not be able to finish. Okay guys, so try out the fabric you are going to be using. I mean, if you are going to be using an ankara fabric, you are going to be using African print or any fabric, do not use a stretching fabric trying to make a bag. If you are going to be using a leather for your bag, do not use bags, do not use leather, I mean the synthetic leathers that will be difficult for your machine to sew through. So the best thing you do, you cut out a sample, try it out on your machine and see if your machine can sew it. If your machine can sew it, fine, you cannot continue your work. So let's quickly, because we have a whole lot of things to do. As I said, I'm going to be teaching you how to bust the corner of this and quickly go, and we are quickly going to do head scrunch. So I'm just going to continue now. So once you've interfaced your bag, all right, and as a beginner, because most time I'm trying to relate whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm saying to beginners, you sewing also is a skill that you have to learn. Okay, it's a skill that you have to learn. I remember when I was teaching some of my students, most of them told me that they can sew. I actually find out that one of the challenges they have is them sewing on straight lines. They could not sew on straight lines. So I have to start teaching them from the scratch again on how they can sew on straight lines. So if you are just starting and you intend to sew your bag, sorry, I'm looking very tired, right? I'll be working since I can see myself, I'm looking stressed out. All right, so if you are just starting, you want to sew a bag and you don't want to sew on a straight line, as a beginner, take your tape rule. Okay, do not get discouraged. Do not start thinking that why will I start measuring now? I can do it. Let me just do it. I know I'm perfect. I see other people doing it without measuring. No, you have, at this stage, you are just starting. All right, so once you have interfaced your bag, take your tape rule, measure where you want to sew on because once you sew and your lines are not straight, that again is going to affect how your bag is going to turn out. All right, so at this time, at this stage, you want everything to be perfect. You have gotten your material, you have interfaced your material, and now you want to sew. So what you are going to do, you're going to take your tape rule, you measure out. If it's 1/2 inch you want to sew as your seam allowance, you're going to measure it out with your tape rule. You take time, please. You want everything to turn up, so by the time you do it, it will encourage you to go to the next stage. But when you do the first one, it's not working, that will discourage you. You don't want to move to the next stage. So at this time, you take your tape rule and your chalk is going to, they are going to be your friend. Your ruler, these are going to be your friend, because they are going to give you very neat and good work. Then you measure out where you want to sew. Mostly I will advise you to always take 1/2 inches as your seam allowance. All right, take 1/2 inches as your seam allowance, especially if you are going after sewing, you want to top stitch. It will make it taking 1/2 inch will make you to top stitch easily. So if you are sewing, I will always advise you to use your seam allowance as to take your seam allowance as 1/2 inch. All right, so you measure out where you want to sew on. In this case, assuming I want 1/2 inch to be where I'm going to be sewing on, which is my seam allowance, you only do this, guys. You are only going to do this if your matching foot does not come with any measuring guide. There's some matching foot that comes with, like, you don't have to measure, so it just directs you on your 1/2 inch, your 2/4, your 1/4, whatever measurements you want to do. There's a foot that would direct you, like it will guide you on how to do that. But if you have a matching foot that cannot guide you, take your time to measure out where you want to sew on. So assuming I want to take 1/2 inch as my seam allowance, right? I'll just quickly measure it out. I'll measure 1/2 inch out. I'll measure it on this side, just one of the panel. Now I'm using one of the panel, I'm not using the 2 panels. So take note, guys. You measure it out on this, and you are also going to measure it out on this. Okay, so just one panel that you're going to do that on. You don't need to do it on this. So you measure it out on this, then you do the same thing here. Then you can use a ruler to connect them if you want. But okay, let me just see some stitch trying to teach you guys. I'll just mark. So I'll come here. I'll do the same thing. I'll take 1/2 inch. This way I'm going to be sewing on. I'm going to be sewing on. So I'm trying to measure it out, because having the right measurements will give you the right form of bag you want to make. Because if you go and start sewing and you don't know how to sew on a straight line, and you start sewing and your work is bent, if by the time you turn your bag inside out, you are going to get a bent bag. So as a beginner, you are not used to sewing already, always measure where you are going to be sewing on. So once you've measured out like this, I'm just going to rule and connect these marks right now. Okay, I'm going to connect the marks. Then next thing I'm going to do, assuming I've interfaced this, okay, I don't know if I should I don't really have an interface. Okay, so assuming I've interfaced it, so if you have an interface, you can sew it on a leather. You don't iron. If you have an interface, you want to start with a foam, you don't iron, you can quit it. And if you don't know how to quit a bag as a beginner, please, I have a whole lot. I think I have 3 tutorials on my YouTube channel. I'm looking so stressed out, guys, so stressed out. Since this morning I've been working. So all right, so I have 3 different bag tutorials on my YouTube channel. Please go and watch one to see how to quit a bag. So in those bags, I actually use foam to quit them. So once you have interfaced your bag, okay, if you are using a leather and you don't want to interface, you can also get some thick leather. I've said that. So the next thing you are going to do is to take your pattern that you have cut out. All right, so take note, to get these patterns, they are very easy. If for instance you are using 15 by 60, all you have to do is to measure. You know how to measure now. If you don't know how to do measure, I'm not going to, I don't know if I'm going to be doing that on my course, like on this bag making course for beginners. That is another different course that has to do with mostly with sailors. All right, so you can, there are lots of things that you can get on YouTube this day, on Google. You can Google it, you can go on YouTube and you actually browse on how do you measure with your tape. So I don't think that would be a difficult thing for you to do as a beginner. So learn how to use your measuring tape to do measurement. So once you know how to measure, you measure the parts on the panel, what your back part that you're going to be turning into bag. You just start sewing, and before you sew, guys, you make sure that the right side of your material you are using, if it's leather or ankara, it's always on the right side. They are laying right side, the right side of one of them is lay against the right side of the other. Do you guys get? Because right fatigue. Okay, you can really need serious, but I hate complaining when I'm teaching you guys. It's something I love, but you see today I'll be working. So you just make sure that the right side of the two cut out materials are laid against each other like this. Okay, if it's akara, make sure the right side is laid against the other part, right sides. Okay, so that by the time you turn it out, you are going to get a fine work. All right, so you don't sew right side face, you don't sew the wrong side of whatever you are going to be sewing face to the wrong side. You don't sew the wrong side face to the right side of what you're going to be sewing. It's always the right side face to the right side. Take notes, take notes, take notes. I'm talking to the beginners. Okay, you have to measure. I've already said that. Measure, so that you don't go get bent work. You don't go make bag, you don't go and make bags, and at the end of everything your bags now turned out to be bent or not professional looking. All right, so you mark out, and once you have sewn, take note that what I'm doing now is not actually what you should do, because I've not interfaced this bag. All right, our aim is to teach you how to bust the corner of your tote bag. If you are going to be starting with a simple bag, that is our aim. So I've told you, you make sure you measure out. Very, very important. As a beginner, measuring tape should be your friend, ruler should be your friend, biro, anything that is cleanable should be your friend. Don't start sewing and so no, that you to learn how to measure is something that is even, it's a skill. Like it's something that you keep on learning until you become perfect, and these are things that you have to know as a beginner. Just like tailoring work, very, very important. So as you are starting, start using your tape very well, start using your ruler very well. Don't say, I'll wait till I'm perfect, I just want to get this thing quickly. No, so you measure out where you want to sew. All right, so once you have measured out what you have to, so you have interface, you make sure that the right side of each of them panels are touching each other. Then we are going to go to the machine and sew on this line. Okay, and I've also measured this out. All right, so once you have sewn, you can see how simple it is. So that's why I say we are here for the beginners. I don't know if you can see. So once you have sewn, that's it. That will be the first step to the back stitch. Right, make sure you always back stitch severally, because when you are doing a bag that you're going to be turning side hand, if you back stitch one, it can just snap. All right, everything will lose and you have to start from the beginning again. So don't do things that, those little things are things that can discourage you from doing the right thing. So back stitch 2 to 3 times, at least 2 to 3 times. All right, but don't back stitch more than 3 times, especially when you're using leather, because the needle is going to poke holes on your leather and you get a bad work. All right, so I just quickly sew. So take note, this is not a typical this is not a typical bag. I'm just going to use this to demonstrate how to bust the corner of your bag. If you are going to be starting with a tote bag as the very first bag you are going to be starting with, if you are a beginner, that's why I'm starting with this bag. And our aim is to teach you how you can bust the corner of your bag. So if you are making a bag and you are using light leather like this, no, you will have to interface it. I don't accept your customer wants something that is as light as this. Interfacing your bag gives it a kind of professional look. It's good when you interface it. Or if you don't want to interface and you don't want to waste your money by interfacing, if you are going to be using leather, buy leather that are very thick. All right, leather comes in different thickness. Buy leather that are very thick. So okay guys, sorry for the noise. The room I am is not that leveled, so take note. So I'll just quickly sew. Then I'm going to learn how to bust the corner of this bag. All right, you just know that I started with two pattern, right? Two pattern. I started just with two of these. Okay, so these are very simple pattern you can start with. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to sew the bottom. We just sew the side, the two side. So I'm going to sew the bottom. What I'm going to do, I'm still going to measure, because I'm trying to take time. I'm trying to explain this thing like a step-by-step process. I always emphasize, measure out anything you want to do if you are a beginner, because if you don't measure, you feel that you can eyeball it and your work gets bent. It's going to affect your back by the time you turn it inside out. So make the tape rule your friend. Get the measurement of whatever you are going to do. So I want to sew the bottom now. So take note of what I'm doing. I've done the two sides, I've done the bottom. Then after that, we are going to bust the corner. That will be all. All right, it's not a very hard thing to do. So I'll also take half inch. I'll take half inch. So when making bag, don't say I just want to see the ass come. I don't want to measure. No, that would be a wrong thing that you'll be doing. Always measure out your work. Use your tape rule, measure out, and if you have a ruler that can get your measurements for you quickly, you can use that to get your measurements. Okay, you can use that to get your measurements. So I'm just quickly going to backstage. I don't know why this machine is shaking. I don't know if there's any way I can. Alright, we are just going to manage this tonight. By tomorrow, I'm going to fix it. Okay, I'm going to fix it tomorrow. Okay. Alright, guys. I didn't take measurement of this actually, so it's folding it, which is not a good one. If you're a beginner, if you are sewing and your bag is folded, no, you have to lose it and take the right measurement. Make sure everything is accurate. So I didn't take the measurements because we are not sewing a typical bag today. Our aim is just to bust the corner of a bag. Alright, so I'll just quickly trim this part off. So when you are making bag, first of all, I forgot to measure that part. First of all, you get your tape. If you want to be making a simple bag like this and you want to get a template, you first of all draft your template. Make sure everything is accurate. Okay, so that template is what you're going to use to measure out the part of the fabric or leather you want to cut out. So once you've gotten it like this, guys, the next thing you are going to do is to bust the corner. This is our purpose for tonight's live stream, bossing the corner of your bags. So what is bossing? How do you boss the corner of your bags? To boss, right? BOS. To turn something, to do something so that the thing that you've done will actually have a shape of a boss. I don't know, I want to explain it in a layman term. Like bossing, like turning something to have a shape of a boss, making something to have a shape of a boss. So when you have, these are corners, right? These are corners. So when you want to boss it, you boss it. By the time you finish it, all right, but after you finish sewing it, now as it's going to have the shape of a boss. That's what we mean by bossing the corner of a bag. So you've taken your patterns, which are just two, and you have sewn like this. Okay, if you are sewn like this, you are sewn like this, is something that anybody can do. Anybody can do. It's a very simple way of making bag. Anyone can do. Then how do you turn this bag into something that is a bit professional? How do you turn it into something that is a bit professional? Okay, it's what we are going to talk about next. All right. So to box the corner of this bag, let me turn it inside out. To box the corner of this bag, you can, what you have to do is you put your hand inside. This is a simple way you can boss it. I'm going to show you two methods you can use to boss the corner of your bag. You put your hand inside, you form a shape like this. Okay, you're going to form a shape like this. All right, after you form this shape, you're going to measure, like mostly I use 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches to 3 inches. When you use 1 inches, you use 1.5 inches, the shape will not come out that well. The shape will not come out that way. So mostly I just use 2.5 inches or 3 inches. So you put your hand, let me repeat, you put your hand into the bag, you've gotten your two parts sewn. So you're going to put your hand inside the bag and you're going to like form this kind of shape. It's like a triangular shape, if I'm correct, right? So you form something like this. All right, so make sure that this part side is equal to this side. You will have to measure it out. So if you are going to measure, you measure from this tip. All right, let me take my tape rule and demonstrate what I'm trying to say. You are going to measure from this tip. All right, when you measure, you can just measure from here to here, you get 3 inches, then you do the same thing with the other side. All right, and another way, before we sew it, for us to see the result of what I'm trying to explain, another way you can bust the corner of your bag is, instead of sewing and doing all of this, you can just take your template. You can take a template and measure out 2.5 inches or 3 inches. Let's assume that this 3 inches by 3 inches is around this place. Okay, you have it around this place. Let's just quickly get a measurement here. And you have 3 inches. You have 3 inches, and you have another 3 inches. All right, then what I've just done, I just took 3 inches from the length and 3 inches from the width. All right, this is the second way you can get your bag bust the corners of your bag. So you cut it out. This is going to be the template you are going to be using. All right, so all you have to do is you just place it. I don't know, it seems that you guys are not see what I'm doing. Okay, so all you have to do is to place that template that you have cut out. You place it here. Okay, you use to cut out, measure out where you want to bust. All right, so you can cut it out. Okay, so that when you cut it out, you sew when you are sewing, you sew to this place, and when you are sewing this, you sew to this place. Then you can now, let me do what, let me explain, let me demonstrate what I'm trying to say. Let's assume that I'm going to cut it out like this, right? So the other part, I'm just going to use the other part to demonstrate it without cutting it out. Okay, so you see the two ways that you can bust the corner of your bag. So once you've cut it out like this, okay, you can take your bag the way it is now. The way it is now, all you have to do is to bring this same line on top of this same line like this. All right, then you arrange them, then you are going to just sew close to it. Okay, let's do that now. This is the second way. The second way you can bust the corner of your bag. Let's on this camera. So this. So let's go. So this seam, like this part you can slip it, just lay it flat. You can either lay it flat like this. Okay, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. You can lay it flat like this, or you can just break it to one side and you sew. You can stop stitch, back stitch rather. Okay, I'm sure I just got finished. Okay, I'll quickly just use my hand to read the thread. I don't want the machine noise tonight. Just read the thread quickly, just small. I'm trying to put the thread into the needle hole. Alright, once it goes through, I'll just bring the thread out. So I'm going to sew on the line, the stitch line again. So back stitch. Okay guys, so this one method, okay, this one of the method of bossing your corner, your back corner. So the second method, you don't have to use a template. So as I said earlier, all you have to do is to put your hand like this. You form this shape. You see the way I just formed the shape? It's a triangular kind of shape. Then this part, the same line, I'm just going to slip it on one side. Then I'll take my tape rule I'm going to take my tape rule, then measure out 3 inches from this point. Okay, from this point I'm going to measure out 3 inches. So when you measure out 3 inches, you okay, I can't get my pen. Yeah, okay, I can't get my pen, guys. So when you measure out 3 inches, it's around here, right? So I'm just quickly going to stitch on it. So when working, make sure everything, you get everything ready. Don't be like me, start looking for a pen and ruler. So let me quickly confirm the measurement again. Guys, welcome to my live stream. We are teaching on how you can bust the corner of your bag. Remember, we were on it yesterday and the light suddenly went off. So I just talked about the 2 methods you can use. When I finish this live stream, you can go and watch it again. So on this part that I'm sewing, we are busting the corner of this tote bag, right? This part that you slip, I will advise you to back stitch 2 times. Okay, back stitch twice. It's very important just to secure your work. Remember, you are doing work for clients, so you want your work to be durable, right? Okay, so this is how to bust the corner of your bag. So we might not get accurate results because I didn't have a barrel. I could not get my barrel to get the measurements right. It's just the technique that I've used. Okay, so I just put my hand inside, form this triangular shape, then measure about 3 inches from here to here. Please watch it from the beginning, very detailed. Measure about 3 inches from here to here, mark it and sew on it. So on this part, I actually use the other method where you can use a template. You can use a template, and the template measured 3 inches in height and 3 inches in length. That was what I used to get this one. So the 2 ways you can bust the corner of your bag. So just with 2 patterns, very simple method. So this is what we call busting of. You see, you can see that it looks like a bus, right? And it gave him a kind of shape. Can you see the shape it gave it? Like, can you see the kind of shape it gave it? So look, I actually use different method here, so it might not be equal. Okay, so this is what we mean by that. I don't know. Okay, let me pull this out. Okay, all right. Okay, the measurement we took might affect this. Okay, but this is what we mean. This is what we mean by busting of shape, because if you actually sew it with this without this method, you are just going to get a flat bag, right? But when you have this kind of, when you use this kind of method, you are going to get the shape bust. And can you see the bottom? Like, it's looking like a bottom. So if you want it to have this bottom and you want it to be stiff, all you have to do is just to cut, get the measurements of the width from here to here, the height from here to here. Then you use a very thick interface, get the same measurement, apply your gum and put it inside. Okay, it's going to be firm and it's going to start, like, it's going to look professional, guys. It's going to look professional, just like other bags that have side and bottom, sides and bottom. So you don't have to start thinking of how to get your bottom and how to sew it to it, how to get your side. All you have to do is just 2 patterns. So that's how you can bust the corners of your bag. So that's our aim for today's class. So I've taught you how to do all of that from beginning to the end. If you guys are looking at me, I'm so stressed. I've been filming these bags since. Okay, I'll be filming these bags since. This is what I'll be filming. This, I'm not celebrating this one, but tomorrow I'll be done. I'm still going to film it. So the remaining part is not difficult. I'll film it by Monday. I'll be uploading it. So there's something else I want to talk about. I wanted to see if we can make this hair scrunch. I know it's not part of it, but something that you can make for yourself. And yes, so it's a very simple project. It's a very simple project. That different kind of hair scrunch you can make. All right, there is this one that does not have this band on it. It's a bit harder. This one is a bit harder because you have to cut like 3 pieces of fabric. Then this one is just a piece of fabric. Once you've gotten this, you got a piece of fabric. I don't know if you can continue, but let me just tell you guys the process of making this kind of hair scrunch. I made this one for a client and it was too small for her. It was small because of the band I bought. This is for a kid's, but I don't know. So it's a bit small for her, according to her. So he said I should make another one. All right. So to make this, if you are here, this is like a bonus. I don't know why you guys want to be missing this live class. Things I'm giving now. Why don't you just stay and enjoy? So this, you have to get this first. It's like 300 naira. All right, you get it. Then I'm using satin material. The measurement of this is 8 inches. Let me get my tape through. So it's 8 inches by 49 inches in length. So these are the things, these are the only thing you need for this band. This is the only thing, very simple, and you can do it. And after doing it, let me tell you another way you can make it look very fine. You take your stone, your Staroki stones, take your fabric gum, then just attach stones. You know how beautiful it's going to be, guys. You know how beautiful it's going to be. I've done something like that, like it was wow. So these are things that you can do, little things like this. You wear them to church, post it, and like, I want this thing, I want to buy. So this is just the thing that you need, and this 300 naira. All right, so you get the measurement. The measurement of this is 8 inches. Okay, 8 inches by 15. The length of this is 15. So I'm going to demonstrate it. Very simple. So once you've gotten a measurement, and you want to use just this fabric alone, you will not, in this case, you will not be gumming this, you will not be wrapping fabric on this. Unlike this, I wrapped fabric because I don't want this to be seen. But if you want your own, you want this part to be seen, this is what you do. But if you don't want it to be seen, it's just to take 2 inches fabric. Here to here is 2 inches. Then you just wrap normal way of, you fold it into two, you wrap, you can wrap it on extend here. You take the other end, wrap it on extend here, because by the time we put this other fabric, it's going to cover it. So if you don't want to wrap, just assume we don't want to wrap it. Okay, it's a very simple one. Assume you don't want to wrap it. All you have to do is to turn it, is to make sure that the right side is facing the right side. Okay, then you sew down. Before you sew, first step, you back stitch 2 to 3 times, because we're going to be turning, so that if you don't back stitch very well, by the time you are trying to turn it side out, it will snap. You have to restart again. You back stitch maximum of 3 times, and when you get here, you back stitch maximum of 3 times. By the time you done that, you just turn it inside out. Guys, very simple. Turn it inside out and start putting it inside. Let's do it. Very simple. It's the simplest thing that you can do. Very simple. Just a simple way of making hair scrunch. Let me put this one here. Simple way of making hair scrunches. All right. So our advice, if you have pins, you can just pin them in place. Pin them in place so it doesn't start moving on you. I just demonstrate. Please, after watching this project, please do one for yourself. Go and get this band. This band is just very cheap. So I'm going to sell it for 200. It's 300 naira. Get it and get satin. Satin is about 500 naira for a yard. I can do 3 of this from a satin. You see, and people will still do this. I'm selling for 1.5. Can you see? So these are little things that you should know that you can actually make living from. You can make money from. So I'm just back stitching here. So I'm not making this for anyone. So but make sure you back stitch at least 3 times. Okay. I don't know what's happening to my. So if you are new here, if you are just coming, welcome. I'm just doing hair scrunch on my hair. mind. This is what I'm doing. It's a very simple project. So the measurement is 2 by 5, 2 by, is it 2? Measurement is 8 by 15 inches. So that's why you have to use pins, guys. I see the way I keep on arranging them. So guys, after this project will be done for today because it's really late, so that I will not disturb people that are sleeping already. So this machine is actually making too much noise now. It's long. Okay, this is the remaining part. Come and finish. Okay, I think the thread got finished anyway. Thread got finished. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trim it from here. So just to get the process of what I'm doing, but I've already told you guys the measurement. It's 49, you can take 52, 49 by 8 inches. Okay, 49 in length, 8 inches in width. Then once you've sewn it like this, you just turn it out. It's easy because the width is big. So you don't need any pen or safety pin to start turning it out. So you just turn it out. It's a very simple project that you can do. You can do with your fabric, Ankara fabric, and it's going to match with your dress if you are putting on a dress. Stop. Okay, once you've brought it out like this, you can iron it to make it smooth and lay flat. Then you take you don't even need to iron. It's a scratching head band, right? It's something like this. So you're going to take your band and just put it inside. All right, it's going to further scratching effect. That's why you made it longer than the headband itself. That's what's going to give it that scratching effect. So just put it inside like this. Okay. Can you see how simple it came out? So once you've done this, you fold this inside. Okay, so take note that when you're doing this, the measurement, the space you are going to leave, you know, you're not going to get it to the end, right? The space you are going to leave should be equal to the space you are going to leave here. All right, you should leave the same distance from here to here, also on this one too. All right, so once you've taken the measurement, for instance, you want the scrunching headband to end here, and here to here is 3 inches. You should also leave 3 inches from here to end. So you should, once you've taken your measurement, you put a mark there, then you fold it like this. Okay, and that mark, then you can use your super glue. That's why super glue is very, very necessary and compulsory if you are doing this kind of handcrafted work. Then you just put a bit of super glue to just hold it in place, and you do the same thing here. Put in place, then you are good to go. See, it's a very, very simple project. A very, very simple project. All right, so guys, how are you guys doing? Hope you guys are having fun. I'm so stressed, extremely stressed today. So, and this is the life at past an hour. So I'm just going to close for today. Tomorrow is Christmas, so you guys should bring my Christmas food. All right. Have a blessed day. I wish you people the best of this year, and also the best of next year. We are about, this year 2002 is about to end, and next year 2003 is about to come. So as we proceed to 2003, God is going to grant us, God will grant us peace, long life, divine health, and everything that we desire in life, every positive thing will be our portion in Jesus' name. All right, so I'm just going to rest now. All right, bye. And those of you that have given me thumbs up, I'm grateful to you guys. I am grateful. Okay, bye. So guys, if you people are on my, if you are my subscriber, you are seeing my eyes, please people can recommend what I should do. Okay, can you see the growth? Can you guys see the growth in my, there's a growth there. Can you see this other eyes too? Both eyes are actually red. All right, like I'm going through hair with my eyes, going through hair. So if there's something, any advice that you guys can give to me, if you don't want to sleep now, just yeah. All right, bye guys, and have a beautiful day tomorrow. Tomorrow is Christmas. In as much as we are going to be celebrating the birth of Christ tomorrow, let's do it in a way that will be moral, in a way that Christ himself will be happy with us. Let not go out and start committing violence, committing crimes. Okay, tomorrow is Christmas. Happy complement of the season. Happy Christmas. We are already, tomorrow has reached now. I think this past 12, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I think it's almost 12 o'clock. Merry Xmas to you guys. Love you guys for your support, for your encouragement. Bye.